This is English 1, Block 4. This is our jury deliberation.
What do you guys think about Oh.
Let's go on.
I'll be the first.
Go on time. Who do you vote for the leader?
For Austin.
Why do you vote Jameson?
I vote Austin.
Johnny?
I vote Cameron.
Cameron, who do you vote?
I'll vote Austin too.
Ryder, who do you vote?
I'll vote Austin.
Nathan, who do you vote?
I'll vote Austin.
He's extremely
Austin,
one-sided.
who do you vote?
Cameron.
Brandon? Alex? Austin, myself too. Austin, you're now the leader.
Oh wow! I'll be the one pointing at everyone.
Okay.
Fun.
What do you guys think about Tom Robinson?
I think that he was accused of, he was accused of rape, but he didn't want to be accused of something that he didn't do.
I agree. He was just trying to he was just trying to go in there to help do some work for him.
Yes.
But then she came up and kissed him.
She tried to kiss him.
Yeah.
Because in chapter 19 of the story, when we get his testimony, he says that Mayella invited him inside many times in the past to help her with chores and odd jobs. And then once he was helping her, she decided she wants to try to kiss him, according to him.
This is despite the fact that he's married
I agree.
and has like 3 kids.
I agree. And then Bob caught them, and then he beat her because he didn't want her. We don't put them.
Well, we don't know, but we can infer.
According to Tom Robinson
That's what I.
and
Yes.
Atticus.
Ryder, do you agree with this claim?
I would agree, yes.
What do you think then?
Just the book, Tom makes sense. And it's Tom black back then. It was easier to accuse them of this.
So you're saying that basically Tom was only accused because of a prejudiced idea?
I'm going to have to agree with that too.
I will agree too.
Cool. What's your real world experiences that support your claim?
Tom Robinson. Mine's it reminds me of the Emmett Till case because he didn't do anything wrong, but he got punished for being a black person, and that was pretty similar to Tom Robinson.
Mine reminds me of the Scottsboro boys because they were both trials and both of them were racist and they were black, so they both got voted guilty even if they didn't do it.
They were also accused of the same thing.
I would have to agree with Jameson, just for the fact that not just those 2 examples, there are plenty of cases from the 1930s to 1980s of plenty of black people getting prosecuted all over the United States just for the color of their skin and not for any other reason.
What are some counterclaims you guys thought of?
A counterclaim that I thought of was that Mayella claimed that her father beat her and raped her, but most of her bruises were on the left side, so that could have been because Tom Robinson
Wait.
didn't have a
I
left
mean,
arm.
she claimed that Tom.
Yeah,
did
Tom.
Oh,
did.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah. According to Mayella, Tom Robinson raped her and took advantage of her.
Do you agree with that, Brandon?
So moving on to Mayella, what are some claims that we could think about for?
I think that she was lying in the case, and because a lot of times when they'd ask her questions, she would just say, "I don't know," or she wouldn't really respond. And
Yeah.
one time she started crying.
I felt like she was very scared and wasn't so sure on her answers, and wasn't.
I think she was afraid of what would happen if she were to tell the truth.
I agree.
where does this say this in the text? Where did you infer it from?
Well, she started crying. She started asking questions about if it was actually her father who did it when Atticus asked her that.
Because her testimony was in chapter 18.
What do you think about this, Nathan?
I agree. Is there anything you'd like to add, Alex?
Well, it seems that she spot on start crying, so therefore she could have tried to manipulate the jury.
I agree with that point.
What do you think, Brandon?
I completely agree because she tried to think of how her father might beat her again. If that's what really happened.
Any real world evidence?
I said Scottsboro boys because they were accused of rape and when they didn't do anything.
I think Mayella Ewell relates to the woman that called rape on the Scottsboro boys.
Yep.
Because it's an iffy situation and nobody knows what really happened.
I would have to agree, but just more. I was like more general because most cases in the real world, even nowadays, if people like are lying on the stand and they get pressed about a certain issue that they don't have already like a made up answer or have a defined answer for, they get very flustered and almost like they get mad about the person who like asked the question. So it leads them into like just making up new lies and just pushing the story forward.
There's a big flies in the nose.
Like finding more dirt to cover the hole,
Yep.
even though it's too deep to fill.
I agree.
Any counterclaims? Anybody?
I think we all agree.
Unanimous.
So, moving on to Bob Ewell. Or yeah, Robert Ewell. What about his claim?
He was the one who like claimed that Tom Robinson was the one who like raped her.
I think
He was also her father, and he was.
I think that him convicting Tom Robinson of rape was trying to hide up the fact that he might beat his daughter every once in a while.
I
I
agree.
yeah, he gets drunk a lot and he takes like their money and stuff.
Because going back to Mayella's testimony, she said, "What my father does to me doesn't count," which could prove that he beats her as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he was just lying about Tom.
Why do you think that?
It was just all the most of the evidence in the case pointed towards Bob.
I'm pretty sure all that Robert saw was Tom running out of the house and away, out from a window. He walked up to his window, saw something, either the results of one on top of the other or the other on top of one.
I think
One ran away, and then Popo go. Or
I think that
went to the Popo.
he just accused Tom Robinson because he was trying to hide up the fact that he was the one who was really beating her.
And adding on to that, there was no doctor called.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was no doctor, so
he said that the injuries weren't bad enough for the doctor to be called.
Awesome. Where in the book did you find that? Or where was that at? It was like,
Good sir, I forgot to cite it.
I'm guessing it's probably in like
Thank you.
chapter 16 and 17 when Bob's testimony was probably.
That makes a great deal of sense. Thank you very much, Jameson.
Nathan, how do you think this relates to the real world?
I don't know.
I mean, people cover up a lot of things.
I think it relates to the Emmett Till case because Emmett Till got hunted down by the father, and Robert Ewell is like the father.
He tried to attack Atticus's kids too later in the story.
So something also with Emmett Till, I thought it because the people, Bob also found Mayella raped apparently, just like how people found Emmett dead.
That's what I also had.
Do you guys believe Robert Ewell though?
No, I think he was lying.
I kind of heard the
I think it's
Why
I
was
think
he lying?
it's hard to believe him.
As he was someone who was trying to kill children, I believe that he could also been.
He was also
Right.
loved
I think he was just trying to cover up for himself and try to protect himself.
He was like,
He could also have been intoxicated.
Yeah,
You
I
gotta
think
factor in that.
I think that makes it hard to believe, and the fact that in the book it said that Mayella was the only one in her family that tried to keep clean. So that means that Robert Ewell wasn't a very clean guy. So
What do you think, writer?
The other side a lot. Hey, I'm dressed.
What's a counterclaim you can think of, Brandon?
I don't really have one.
Okay.
The only one that I would be able to think of is that you was just telling the truth, but I don't think so.
just trying to keep himself out of trouble.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm talking about Hecate. Any claims there?
What do you think is Clayton's writer?
He's just got called the scene and just kind of do his job as a sheriff.
I think that he was a little biased towards the Ewells.
I agree, but also I
Yeah,
think he was just trying to do his job. He just got called down and was trying to help her out with
His
since she was
manner
beat.
in the court was kind of unmannered and racist. So I think he was a little prejudiced.
Agreed.
Why do you think that?
Because he was being racist.
What did he say that was racist in the book?
Yeah, he called Tom and
Going off what Cameron said, he didn't really want to get like a doctor, just for simple fact that he just believed Robert Ewell too easily. He didn't need like any more evidence per se, and that kind of just shows his prejudice side of just believing, oh yeah, it was a black person that did it without even saying hesitation or thought.
Yeah, agreeing with Preston, because in chapter 17 when he gave his testimony, he said that she had been beaten, though not badly enough to need a doctor. So
I also think they didn't take in consideration a lot of the evidence that was there because she was beat on her right side and she didn't have to beat Tom's left arm, but it was crippled and it'd be hard for him to do that.
Going
He
off
was on
of,
his left side, I think, or is my memory wrong?
going off what Jameson said though, when he was asked about the doctor, he says, well, I can't tell you why. I can tell you why. I didn't. It wasn't necessary. It basically just shows like it didn't even cross his mind at a certain point.
Ryder, can you think of any real world experiences that relate to this?
I think like the man that hunted down Emmett Till.
Why is that?
I don't know, it was just hunted down Tom.
Do you have any real world examples, Austin?
I was going to say basically what Ryder said. So he kind of still went under just a little bit, but I digress.
What do you think, Alex?
I do not have any evidence. No, real world evidence for that one.
How about Atticus? Anything to say about him?
You forgot to counterclaim.
Oh yeah, sorry.
A counterclaim for Hecate. I think this could have been, but he knew that Robert was lying, but he didn't want to like bring an uproar like he did with later in the book with Boo Radley. He kind of just put it off the side and said, "Oh, we'll just push this under the rug so he doesn't get pushed into the limelight."
Or something that I thought of there was he could have just not wanted to, or he just wanted to be racist possibly, and just or, okay.
Moving on to Atticus.
I think that Atticus thinks that Tom is innocent and that Bob was the one who did it, which I agree with that. Atticus is also trying to protect him, I think.
Was there a motive to that quote? Was there a motive why you wanted to defend Tom?
Because it was the right thing to do.
Do it for his dignity.
Is there text evidence of this?
Yes, but I did not seem to write it down.
he did it even though he knew that the town was looking down upon him.
Yeah.
And would look down upon him.
You
for
said he
taking
didn't think
notice.
he'd be doing God's work if he denied the case.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was in chapter 20, he gave his closing argument.
Yeah, mostly in his argument. It was from pages 270, 275. Pretty much just says that it's not the defendant who's guilty, but it's someone in the courtroom. So probably hinting towards that Bob Ewell's actually the one who he heard.
Do you have any real world evidence Brandon?
Yeah, because his left arm was crippled.
Wait,
Real
real world stuff like the other case.
Oh, the Scottsboro brothers,
Oh.
because they're all black and they all got falsely accused.
They didn't really have a good lawyer to like protect them.
Yeah. No. Get anyone down with that?
I think he also wanted to teach his kids a lesson.
I agree.
Like,
So we just do the right thing.
yeah,
I don't
do
believe
the right thing.
Atticus knew his
He
children
didn't
were
wanna-
outside of the courtroom.
He didn't want to lose the respect of his kids.
Just wanted to be kind of like a role model to his kids and have them want to do the same thing when he gets older. They can always do the right thing.
I agree with that. Does anybody have any other opinions or?
Counterclaims.
I have a counterclaim. A counterclaim is that Atticus only is doing the trial because he had to. He was forced to do this, and while that is true, as a character, Atticus wouldn't do that as he is more of a morally right person, and he likes to follow his conscience a lot more than like what other people say. So even if he did just take it because he had to, he would still try to make the best out of the situation and still try to promote something that he believes in.
I think he still wanted to, because they like assigned him it when there was like usually give those cases to like the like rookies or like the new people, but they chose to give it to Atticus because he had a better shot of winning the trial.
And Atticus never complained about doing that case.
Yeah, like stuck up for him.
And I think he still would have wanted to take it just to stick up for him.
And he like hid Tom Robinson to make sure that he didn't get lynched before the trial.
He was actually protecting him and not just letting him die.
On to the next character, Mr. Gilmer. Anyone want to start with anything?
He was the prosecutor of the trial, and my claim is fathom.
I think that he thought Tom was guilty, and I also think he was a little biased. Just because there was a lot of evidence that showed that Tom was innocent, but he still.
His job is to prove Tom guilty, though.
And
Was there any evidence that he
There's-
brought to the actual table that proved that Tom did in fact do it?
no,
He was kind of beating around the bush the whole time.
He just used his words to get his point then.
He kept calling Tom like names and stuff.
He was trying to get
Kept calling him Big Buck and other names, and
like boy.
he was trying to get Tom Robinson to accidentally confess.
No, either was true or wasn't.
Yeah, and there was a lot of evidence proving that he wasn't guilty. But he just kind of wanted him to lose, pretty much, since he was black.
Anybody have any real world evidence that supports the claim?
I said the Scottsboro boys again. And this is because in the final verdict they were also found guilty. And Tom was found guilty too.
Going back to what Jameson said, is there really any clear evidence that Atticus provides that proves that Tom did not in fact do this?
Well,
Yes.
when Tom stood up and his arm, one of his arms were like non-functioning, the other one, even though it's like the opposite side of which he had gotten beaten on, gave a lot of evidence that he was one.
Yeah.
And he would have used his other arm too. If he was
Is there any other evidence you guys thought of?
Well, Mayella, like crying, not being so confident in her answers, was a little.
So was what she said was
Yeah.
almost counted as evidence.
And how she just stopped and started crying.
Any counterclaims to your guys' claims?
One could be that he just through after all of the whole trial, he just thought that he was actually guilty. That's one thing.
He just didn't listen to the evidence at all. He just wanted that man gone. That's all the characters that we have. But there's two more things possibly left. Do you want to say the other two? Or not?
3 more.
Oh yeah, there's three more. Any themes from the books you guys want to talk about?
Before you
Wait,
do
what?
that, you as a jury need to come to a decision.
Oh, that's correct.
Do you think he was guilty or not?
I'll read it out loud. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, Tom Robinson, committed the offense of rape against Mayella Ewell?
I don't think so.
No,
I think he's innocent.
I'm gonna say innocent too.
innocent.
All the evidence, most of the evidence pointed towards that he's innocent, and there really wasn't anything that said he was guilty.
All those who claim that he is innocent, raise your hand.
It would be better if we said aye.
So then I wouldn't be like talking.
So it's unanimous.
Just so you know, we all raise our hands. Well, let's give you an MP3. Wait, would this be a
Okay,
video?
yeah, let's keep talking about that.
So,
Thanks, whatever.
what themes are like the strongest themes of the book?
I feel like the biggest theme of this book is race, because the story's plot pretty much revolves around race and how much what had happened if there wasn't a Tom Robinson trial and the racism.
I said the same thing.
I think it was more about like perspective and equality.
I said that the main theme, in my opinion, is do what's right even if it's looked down upon.
Going off what Jameson said, is it just more about race, or is it about the inequality of race?
I think it's about both and more about the equality of race too,
Why do you think that?
because there's a lot about race and equality.
Alright, very good. That's the end of round one. Jury number one. Wait a minute. Sit down, please. Outside circle. What did the inside circle do well? Nora?
They all brought up like their roles and said like counterclaims.
Yeah. Now, do you have to do it the way they did it? No, but they did hit counterclaims because counterclaims are such an important point of decision making. You have to be able to see both sides. So it was very good that they did consider that. You don't have to do it the way they did it, but yes, that was very good. Likely?
A lot of people used a lot of text evidence and
Yes.
a lot of references to evidence.
Yes, that's always good in any conversation to have the facts and use them to support. In this situation specifically, you're deciding the facts in order to determine the guilt or innocence of a human being. You must decide upon those facts. So yes, the fact that they all used a lot of evidence was fabulous.
They made sure to include everyone in the group and ask their opinions.
Yes, yeah, very good.
They covered like most of all of the points on the chart. Like if they didn't have one, they would go back and then do it, and then they would just go down the beach.
Yes, very thorough that way. Tan, did you have?
They made sure to double check and ask questions.
Yes, clarifying questions, very important. All right, outside circle, what are some things that you will want to keep in mind to make it even better for your discussion? Ayla?
Not interrupt each other.
Okay, good. Eileen?
I think for like 4 men and 4 women, that they shouldn't just like vote for others because they might not have wanted to do it in the first place.
Okay, so how to pick that? Okay, good.
I think we should probably keep it a little more simple and that kind of equality.
Okay.
Sometimes.
And make better connections naturally, you mean?
Because I feel like there's a lot of agreeing, just
Mm-hmm. Okay.
saying like that, but not a lot of concern.
Okay, so let's see if our little experiment here of doing a male jury versus a female jury, and then we're going to evaluate maybe what are some of your observations. Kate,
Going more into depth instead of just like skipping over.
in depth on interpretations and judgments, you mean?
Yeah, just
Okay.
like instead of skipping over.
All right, very good. Very quickly and quietly switch places. Good job.
Are we gonna take a break or?
No, not yet. The same amount of time on that I had for the gentleman, which was 21 minutes. Our first period had 37 minutes. We only had one round since we had 12.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Because I can tell.
So I am going to set the timer once you get going on
What's the order?
nominating and voting on your forewoman.
You got it? You got it?
You're right. You're right there.
This is period 5.
Block 4. And we are doing our jury.
Which one?
Okay. This is English 1, Block 4, and we are doing our To Kill a Mockingbird jury thing.
Deliberation.
Okay, so why don't we start off by getting a four-woman started? Was there anybody who wanted to do that? Could you raise your hand? Okay, now we can go around and vote for the 3 people, and we'll go off of that. Majority wins. I'll vote for Blakely.
I vote for Elena.
I'll vote for Atlanta.
We'll vote for Irene.
Blakely.
Blakely.
Nora. Nora.
Blakely won?
Yeah.
Alright. Wanna get us started off then, Blakely?
So I think we should just start from the top with Tom Robinson. So anyone want to say their claim about him?
I'll get us started real quick. So I thought that Tom Robinson just really thinks that he's trying to be a good guy and was doing the best thing possible by helping out a young lady who was struggling to do a task and didn't really have any help in the first place at home. So I think that he didn't think what he was doing was wrong and honestly just didn't think it would come up to be in a trial at some point.
I agree. And like one of the quotes I found that supports that is when he was asked why he ran, he said, "I was scared I'd be in court just like I am now." And because he knew he was innocent, but that he knew that if he went to court, he had no chance to go against the white woman's word.
I agree with you. I kind of had the same thing that Elena had, although I just had that he is innocent, but because of the racism that exists in Macomb, he's probably not going to win his trial, because even though that there's evidence proving against the thing, like his left hand and left arm not being able to work, they still are saying that Tom is the one who did it.
I agree with Nora because I said, like, my claim is that Tom Robinson is innocent and he knows that he is innocent. But he knows also that like he knows he's innocent. Like in his heart, he knows that he is innocent. But like he also knows that the jury system is biased toward the other group. So like he knew like from the beginning like there might not be a chance of us winning it, but we're still gonna go out there. We're still gonna try, like do our hardest to try to help everyone in the Black community.
Which is
So yeah.
So I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they think Tom Robinson is innocent. Is there anyone who had a different claim than that? Or something kind of different than that?
I think overall, we all kind of agree that Tom is innocent, but he also knew that he had unfair bias going into it.
What would you guys compare that to in the real world? I compared. Never mind.
Lauren, what did you compare it to in the real world?
I compared it to the Scarlet Boys because like it was a couple white women being raped and supposedly being raped by Black boys. And it just
Can you elaborate on that?
They should
Our land school
It just.
kicked us off.
Okay, well.
So since everybody thinks that he's innocent, what if I asked you all and said that he was guilty and he did do this to Mayella? What would be your argument for that?
Well, I would say something.
I would instantly deny it.
And how, if you have any evidence for that?
Yes, so Atticus basically with Mr. Bond, Mr. Ewell, he has him do the left hand test. And Tom is crippled in his left hand. So think that is Mr. Ewell possibly hurt Mayella afterwards when Tom left.
I don't believe she really was because of Tom's physical disability. That was probably some of the biggest evidence. But I think that he might not have hurt her after she left or after Tom. I think it might have happened before that and after because there was a lot of injuries from just one single inmate, I guess.
When Tom noticed the bruises,
Well, I think he might just not have paid attention, or she could have been wearing something that covered it up, or something like that.
I think he was just like in the moment he was just like paying attention to detail and he was just trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
I also think with the bruises, it'd be almost impossible for him to do all of the damages that they say that he did with only one arm.
You can't like choke somebody and then punch them unless they like choke them and throw them to the ground. Like you
It was
can't.
a very short period of time.
Yeah, I agree.
What are we thinking about Mayella?
So I think that Mayell's point of view was that the trial came to the correct end because she says that Tom raped her.
Yeah, I also think she's like if you noticed when she was talking, she would like say something and then she'd say something else and then they'd have to clarify it because it might have been just because she's nervous, but I think she was like afraid of her father, and so if she told the truth of what happened, she would have gotten abused more than she already had been.
Okay, Jeff, what do you have, Dad?
She cries at the beginning to make them feel bad for her and then take her side. Carly, do you want to say about it?
I'd say I'd agree with Lila. I'd also say that she feels guilty about her actions and she's scared of it.
Do you have any potential evidence that can support that?
Not specific, but not confident in any of the answers with what happened.
I have a different claim. Sorry. I personally think that Mayella knew who convicted the crime. I think she knew that, but she didn't want to say that out loud. Right? She wanted to tell the truth, but then in the back of her mind she was like, my dad is right here. He is the one who did it, and he's gonna, like Lila said, he's gonna abuse me even more if I don't. And she said the judge said, can you tell us what happened, anything like that, and she looked right at him and then turned into tears. If you're confident in what the story happened, then you shouldn't be crying about it. You might be nervous and stuff, but if you're confident in what you're saying, then
So to specify, you're
she's
saying
obviously
that
not confident because she's most likely being forced to say this by her father.
And also,
Exactly.
if she really was, raped by anybody, obviously she wouldn't exactly be confident after something like that. She might be a little emotional and stuff.
I agree with Cadence's fact about how she cried she was nervous and everything. But I think she also did it to kind of get the jury on her side, to use her innocence and stuff to her advantage.
yeah, I totally agree.
Do you mind if I point some things out?
Yeah, sure.
So, basically, before Tom could say let me pass or something, that's whenever Mr. Ewell came in and didn't let Tom really say exactly. And another thing is that I find it interesting how Mayella looks to her father from the audience and looks back.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah,
So
like
that's
she's almost nervous to mess up.
That's
I need
hint
confirmation.
of a lie. The third thing is I think just Tom and Mayella are figuring children, blaming the other.
And I agree. I agree with your second point most of all, of how she's scared to disappoint him and wants to confirm him, because I think that he knew he was the one that beat Mayella, but she was too scared to testify against him because she was scared that she would get another beating.
Lauren, do you have any specific real world experiences or evidence that supports Mayella or your claim?
I kind of related it back to the Scottsboro boys. as in Mayella was like the white woman.
Yeah, same question to you, Natalie. You got any real world evidence that happened?
Yeah, well, I just think that this happens to many women around the world, and it's just a common thing that shouldn't be. Many are like victimized, raped, and attacked. Going off of Natalie, I put she like represents like modern day and even abuse victims back in her time, because like a lot of women receive mental and verbal abuse even today. So I kind of related her to that.
What about some counterclaims? Does anyone have any counterclaims to this?
So I said that Mayella says that Tom only came into her property one time, but a way that I can like prove that she's lying is the fact that in Tom Robinson's testimony, he says a few times that there were children there that saw him work or just watched him through the window. So an easy way to just figure that out, that he did come in a few times, was to just ask the children.
So I kind of had a different one than you did, but I completely agree with yours. I said that during the trial, like we could tell that she was nervous, and it could be because Tom Robinson was the one responsible for it, and it was making her nervous. But we see many times throughout the trial that her father was, or we just see through the evidence throughout the whole trial that the family life was not very good, and that he was just not a very good father. So that's a way to prove that she was probably just afraid of her father throughout the whole trial.
I agree completely. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, so what Elena said, you could ask the children, but how do you know they're going to be completely honest about it? Because they could have been threatened by the father too.
Yeah, that's very true. Didn't really think about that part, but I mean, as little kids, I know that in the world now, you're kind of like, if you're little, you're just kind of nervous about the police, and you're told to always tell the truth. So, truthfully, as a young person, maybe you would have the chance of one of them or a few of them not lying.
So just thinking about the Ewell family dynamic, that's probably a little less likely because they don't go to school.
Yeah.
And so they're really just taught by whatever industry Ewell does.
Yeah. So what's your kind of thing with them?
Well, I was saying how Mayella was being very passionate on the stand, and so some people might think if she was so, like, when she yelled at Atticus and was like, if you don't believe me that I got raped, then you're just a terrible person. I think that was not what she, like the word she was saying was not why she was crying. Mm-hmm. More because Atticus was really digging into her about who beat you up, Tom Robinson or your father, and then she didn't answer him. And then he said, what did your father see in the window? The crime of rape or the best defense to it? And I just thought she kind of just freaked out over that. Yeah. Because it says she looked like her face was a mixture of terror and fury. Mm-hmm. And so I think she was just really angry about that.
There's many things in the text about him just digging in about her father. Like when he asked if he was a tolerable person or not, she was kind of like, yeah, he's tolerable except when, and then she just completely changes course and says, except when nothing, he's just tolerable. Mackenzie, what
I just have a random question because I don't understand. So, Mayella makes a fuss over like Atticus being polite, right? Mm-hmm. But Tom Robinson's called her like Miss Mayella too, I believe. So why didn't Miss Mayella make a fuss?
I don't think he did. And at least if he did, he wasn't talking to her. He was talking about her. Mm-hmm. So she couldn't really say anything because they were in court. So she might have been upset about it, I guess.
I agree completely. I think for the sake of time, we should move to Robert Ewell.
Yeah.
Cadence, would you like to start us off?
He says that Tom Robinson raped his daughter, but he knows that that's just cover up for the things he is doing to his daughter, and claims that he came up to the house to see Tom raping Mayella through the window and started yelling at him.
I agree. And I think he blamed Tom because he's a colored man, and he would have a better chance of accusing him and winning due to the racial injustice that was just portrayed in the case.
I completely agree with you. Do either of you have any text evidence to prove this? I have one from page 90 of the PDF. I just have it about kind of like the social status of the Ewells. So I said, every town the size of Maycomb had families like the Ewells. No economic fluctuations changed their status. People like the Ewells lived as guests of the county in prosperity as well as the depths of depression. No Trot officers could keep their numerous offspring in school. No public health officer could free them from congenital defects, various worms and diseases ingenious to filthy surroundings. Maycomb's Ewells lived behind the town garbage dump, which was once a Negro cabin.
It's basically like her quote, I feel, is basically saying not only was he looking, I can't remember who said it, but he was basically, I feel like he's trying to look for social status because they're dirty people and people don't like them. So if he went and accused this group of people that the town is already racial about, then they're going to be like, oh, he's a good person, so we're going to like his family and him now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we should get parties. Oh, sorry, you can go. I was just
gonna say, I think my claim is a little different than what has been said for the most part, because everyone's been kind of saying how they think he did it because it was a good cover-up for his actual potential use, and how he just did it because he could easily win against Tom. But I think his motives might have been different, because we know that the Ewells didn't really leave their garbage dump very often, and so I don't think he would have been as worried about Mayella being seen by other people. I think he did it because he wanted to just kind of like get a footing in the rest of the town, and he just wanted people to kind of see him as like a good person. Maybe not even like in a good way. Like he just did it selfishly and try and potentially help him get a job or something.
I also think that Bob thought, like going into the trial, he thought that he was going to be like, oh, I'm going to walk in there, I'm going to say this, and then boom, we're done. We're going to win, he's going to get put in jail, and then this is all going to be done. But like once he like gave his evidence, he's like, okay, we're going to win. And then right when like Atticus and Tom gave their point of view and like perspective on things, then he was like, oh crap, I'm screwed. Like they have good points, they have strong evidence, like I'm done. But then he like shows that, but then he's also like, I can't show that because like then everyone's gonna catch on.
I see what you're saying. Do you have any real world examples for this?
I personally think it was very similar to Emmett Till because of him being accused by somebody just like right off the bat because he was an innocent black male and they would get away with it pretty easily. So I'm pretty sure that Bob was much like the lady who accused him.
Do you think like what Bob did was like what happened
Yes.
to Emmett Till? Okay, yeah.
What do you think, Nora?
I think that it's similar to the Scottsboro Boys case because the men on the train said that they had witnessed the rape of the white woman, but they, like, the black guys did not actually do it, so they just wanted to make a black man's life more miserable than it already was because it was very easy. And I think that for the rebuttal, I think that some people might say Bob Ewell was just trying to be a protective father and show that he was turning into a better person. But I think that he was just trying to cover up how like awful he was to his children, including Mayella, and that he was the one that was making up stories.
Do you have any rebuttal?
I thought that one big rebuttal that went against Robert's like point of view was the whole Tom's case. Like Tom physically could not have done it, and with Bob saying that he could have, and then having no rebuttal to his counterclaim, I think really puts him at a really weak position right now.
Because the only way Tom could have done it is if Hecate and Robert Ewell did not know their cardinal directions, and the injuries were actually on the left side of her face instead of the right, because that's the only way he could have hurt her is with his right hand.
That's absolutely true. I agree with that. But I think for the sake of time, we need to transition on to Hecate. So, Natalie, why don't you get us started? What was your claim about Hecate?
I claim that he had bias, and everyone
everyone on the jury already knew him and knew of him, and he took that to his advantage, so people could take his side and see his point of view.
Yeah, I totally agree with her. I think he was, like she said, using his connections, because if he were to say that this black man was not guilty and this white man from their community was, that people would see him in a completely different fashion, like he was not trying to protect their like community and just wasn't a bad sheriff. So I think he was kind of taking himself into this and was also just really wanting people to stay on his side.
Do you use some text evidence to support that?
So I have more text evidence on how he was biased and just wasn't really doing his job to keep his side in it. I said that when he gave like the examples of injuries, he said that it was on her left side. And then Atticus says, "Wait a minute, Sheriff, was it her left facing you or was it her left looking the same way as you?" And he said, "Oh, yes, that makes it her right. It was her right eye, Mr. Finch." So he just kind of wasn't taking it in a lot, like he just wasn't very specific in a lot of his details.
I also kind of had similar evidence around like the injuries. If he's like a sheriff, he should know like when injuries happen, he should call a doctor. But in this situation, he didn't, as we see at page 89 on the PDF. It says, "But didn't you call a doctor while you were there? Did anyone send for one, fetch one, carry her to one?" And he answered, "No, sir."
I agree with that. Another quote I had that confirms that is he said something show happened, it was obvious, but they didn't get a doctor.
Yeah.
So it sounds like overall we all agree that Hecate was just trying to do what was best, but he wasn't very specific and he didn't really know what was happening.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any real world experiences of this?
No.
Anybody?
I my real world thing for Hecate, I said that he kind of represents the bad type of law enforcement that we have in our world. We don't see it very often, but it is there, and he represents those people who will do anything to protect their picture and their social status and their representation because they don't want to lose the good side of like their community. They want to keep their social status up, which makes them do rash and not so smart things, which can really affect them, especially now today. Like if they do bad things, they'll go to jail. That wasn't the case back then because everybody agreed with him.
Also, like one other thing, like small thing that like some cops kind of have like a different, not relationship, but like outside of the courtroom, they act different than inside. I feel like inside they're way more serious. They're like, okay, we need to put someone in jail. We're gonna let someone go. But like outside, they're like, "I'm helping you cross the road, young lady." I don't know, but they're like, I feel like they're different. Like I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like they're different outside of the courtroom. Yeah.
I agree. So, Lauren, do you have anything that you could rebuttal for this argument? So, I think that that people could say that he was doing everything right, but again, I would just base it all on connection-wise. He just wanted to keep his reputation and keep his status with the community, and that was why he was so kind of not specific and not like on it with all the dates or the times or any of the entries. I think it was just to really benefit him and not benefit the group.
So I know we didn't get to the other two, but we are out of time now. So I think we should go ahead and vote on our final decision. So I guess let's just do a raise of hands. Do we think Tom Robinson was proven beyond the shadow of a doubt guilty for the rape of Mayella Ewell? Do we think he was not guilty? Okay, so that is a unanimous not guilty.
All right. Jury members, very good. All right, the outside circle. What did that? Just a minute. What did the inside circle jury number 2 do well? Cameron?
I thought they all brought up valid in conversation moving points.
Okay, good. Yes, they did. Johnny?
I just thought they used good textual evidence and explaining where they got their information from.
Yeah, again, you guys did such a great job of using your textual evidence. Good. Cole?
I think it's good that they involved a lot of people that went off people's claims.
Connected, they brought everyone in, they connected them. Jameson?
I think it's good that they brought a lot of people in, and almost everybody shared. Everybody shared a lot.
Preston?
I think they acted a little bit more like an actual jury than we did.
Oh, in what way?
Just the fact, like, they actually went over more evidence, like, why they think someone's guilty or not guilty.
Okay, and did kind of like what Cadence had said, dug a little deeper into the justification or the reasoning behind those initial observations of the facts. Okay, good. Brandon?
They had really good rebuttals and they gave really good evidence.
Yes, very good. Pam?
They were able to dispute each other good, and the conversation pacing was really good.
Yeah, it was a good pace. Alex?
They were able to work in the point of view of the character.
Yes, good. Getting into the different points of view or perspectives of the characters. Last thing, Jameson.
I thought they built on each other's points quite a bit.
Yep, good collective understanding that they were building. Very good. We've got just 6 minutes left, so you'll need to turn to your reflection questions. But also, I want you, actually, I'm going to have you do this in the reflection questions. Note a few things about the difference, since we did kind of a little experiment here in having an all-male jury, like it was back in 1935, and then an all-female. What were some of the differences? Not that you can just say, oh, well, these things happened because it was a male jury or a female jury. But what generalities did you maybe notice? Okay, great job today.